got y'all three back here. Good afternoon. Chris, is this on?
It should be, yes. Yeah, one of us will take it.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be starting in a few minutes, so we would appreciate everyone just taking your seats. I do have two administrative notes. First, thank you in advance for silencing your cell phones. And photos of the awardees will take place at the conclusion of the ceremony. Thank you. Well, that was quick. Thank you for that. Good afternoon and welcome to the 2021 Daniel E. Watts Memorial Outstanding Law Enforcement Officer Award Ceremony, sponsored by the 4th Judicial Circuit. For those of you fortunate enough not to know me, I'm Assistant State Attorney Matt O'Keefe, and I must have missed the planning meeting for this event as I've been chosen to serve as your Master of Ceremonies today. Wow, that didn't go over well. With that, thank you for taking time out of your extremely busy schedules to join us today and recognizing the extraordinary work of our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners. And again, thank you for silencing your cell phones. If you are able, I would ask that you please stand for the presentation of the colors by our Florida Highway Patrol Honor Guard, the singing of our national anthem by JSO's own Chris Brown, and the invocation by SAO Chief Investigator Tim Quick.
dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, they gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please join with me as we go to Lord in prayer. Gracious and Heavenly Father, we come to you today to give thanks for the men and women in law enforcement who serve and protect us. We ask for your special strength and protection as they perform their daily task and keep us safe. We pray Ephesians 6:10 that they will be protected by the armor of God. We also ask for your blessings for the families of our officers. We thank you for their sacrifices they make in support of their loved ones so that we may continue to live in peace and security. We give thanks for the men and women being recognized today for bringing credibility to the law enforcement profession, and we give thanks for the service of those warriors who have passed before. We ask these things in heaven's name, and all God's people said, amen.
Retire the colors. Please be seated. Welcome again to the 2021 Daniel E. Watts Memorial Outstanding Law Enforcement Officer Award Ceremony for the 4th Judicial Circuit. And thank you again for being here today. I would like to begin by recognizing the following individuals who have been kind enough to join us this afternoon. Chief Judge Mark Mahan, Administrative Circuit Judge Adrian Soud, Administrative County Judge Roberto Arias, and I also see many members of our county and circuit judiciary in our audience today. Thank you for being here. State Senator Audrey Gibson, State Representative Tracy Davids, FBI Special Agent in Charge Sherry Onks, NCIS Special Agent in Charge Tom Canizzo, DEA Special Agent in Charge Mike Dubett, Sheriff Bill Leeper, Sheriff Michelle Cook, Chief Jean Paul Smith, Chief Vic Guilillo, Chief Richard Pike, Chief T.K. Waters, Chief Frank Mackesy, Director Keith Powers, and Mr. Steve Zona of the statewide Fraternal Order of Police. Thank you again for taking time out of your extremely busy schedules to attend today's ceremony. I would also like to take a moment to recognize the members of the award committee who volunteered for the difficult task of choosing these awardees from the numerous qualified and worthy nominations. Chief Investigator Tim Quick, Assistant Chief Investigator Tim Reddish, our Community Engagement Coordinator Lindsay Ott, Under Sheriff Ron Lenve of the Clay County Sheriff's Office, Chief John Guzman of the Green Cove Springs Police Department, NCIS ASAC Rick Ryan, Jax Beach PD Commander Eric Shaughnessy, and Atlantic Beach Lieutenant Chase Jameson. Thank you all for your difficult service. Finally, I would like to take a moment to thank the members of the Planning Committee. Planning this event is no small feat, and our team started working on this event last year, the very week after we wrapped up the 2020 awards ceremony. So a special thanks to all of you who helped put this together. I would now like to introduce the Chief Judge for the Fourth Circuit, the Honorable Mark Mahan. But before I turn over the podium, I have a confession to make. The Chief Judge and I had the distinct pleasure of working together when Judge Mahan was a member of the criminal bench, and I had the pleasure of serving as a Circuit Line Division Chief. I believe it was in Division CRE. It was affectionately known as Rock Bottom by the line attorneys serving there. And since those salad days many years ago, one of us has enjoyed an extremely successful career serving the Jacksonville legal community, and the other is still occasionally serving as a division chief. With that, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Judge Mark Mahan.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm glad he didn't take that story any further. First, let me say on behalf of all the judges, welcome to the courthouse. I was so pleased when Ms. Nelson called and asked if she could host this event in the Duval County Courthouse. And our thanks on behalf of all the judges go out. Our appreciation and acknowledgement goes out to all the recipients of these awards. I also was doubly pleased when Ms. Nelson offered me an opportunity to say welcome to the law enforcement community. I know we have so many people who are going to be very, very much honored and a very happy day. There are also some people that have been touched by some sadness and tragedy, and to them, welcome to the courthouse. It can be sometimes a dark and difficult job and difficult work that we do here, but today, I think to do the best we can to celebrate. And again, on behalf of our circuit, on behalf of all the judges, welcome to the courthouse. Thank you.
Your Honor, thank you for those kind and surprisingly brief remarks. I would now like to introduce our host, the State Attorney for the Fourth Judicial Circuit, the Honorable Melissa Nelson.
Well, this is really remarkable to see all of you here today, and very, very exciting for those of us who have worked hard to make sure this is a special day for those of you in law enforcement that we'll be honoring. I want to begin today by saying thank you. Thank you, Chief Judge Mahan, for allowing us this space today. Thank you, Stellar. With us today is Ron Foster, his wife, Stephanie, and CEO of Stellar, Mike Santorone. Stellar has been a constant and unwavering supporter of law enforcement, and specifically also as well of the State Attorney's Office. At the State Attorney's Office, Stellar has generously, today, they've sponsored this event, donating truly very stunning awards. As I had mentioned last year, these are not the wooden plaques that so often we seem to give away in government. These are really, really beautiful. The Foster's Restaurant, Chop House 13, has funded the reception that follows today on the third floor, a touch making this event particularly special for the honorees and their families. Chop House 13 regularly supplies our office with gift cards that we then use to award our outstanding employees. And Stellar sponsored something very special in our office, a corridor that our law enforcement partners walk through every day when they come to our office. And it is decorated with historic photographs from all of the agencies and departments in the Fourth Circuit. Thank you. But as I told you before you came today, the gifts that you've given us are really special, but the fact that you would take time to join us today and watch this is even more special, so thank you very much. So this ceremony is about our collective appreciation for law enforcement. It was born from an idea from Jack's Beach Police Department Sergeant Dan Watts, a friend of many of you, and it began as a small event. And when Dan passed away last year, we decided to rename this event in his honor. In just 5 years, it's grown into an annual event that is among the favorite things that we do at the State Attorney's Office. We celebrate today our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners who have done exceptional work over the last year. To each and every one of you who do this important job, thank you. We at the State Attorney's Office could not do our jobs in these courtrooms without you. So I'm going to plagiarize some remarks that I gave last year because they are so apropos. They were delivered last spring by Fernandina Beach Police Chief Mark Foxworth, and they, in my opinion, perfectly capture both the dichotomies and the challenges that you all face in today's modern world policing. Each day you are called upon to handle controversy, to do the distasteful things society would rather not acknowledge or deal with. You are there when people and issues are at their worst. You are expected to change roles from one call to the next, a diplomat on one, a counselor on another, compassionate when dealing with the weak and firm when dealing with the criminal. You have to be empathetic to a person who just experienced a tragedy, but you cannot be rattled by tragedy. It is one of the very few professions where everyone seems to be an expert at what you do, yet few want to do it. A profession where you are asked to wear body armor for protection and a body camera to record your every move. A profession where you can be a hero one day and a villain the very next, simply based on a YouTube snippet and an overzealous public. It is the only profession I know of where society expects you to get cursed at, threatened, at times assaulted, and even killed. Our communities are only safe because each of you are willing to face danger and be a protector. With us today are Tim and Brenda Moyers and Ivy Carter. Will you please stand? Their family understands firsthand the tragic meaning of Chief Foxworth's words for their son and Ivy's fiance, Nassau County Sheriff's Deputy Josh Moyers, was senselessly killed last fall. Since a young boy, Deputy Moyers wanted to be a police officer, and by the accounts of many, wanted to be so for the same reason all of you became officers. He wanted to protect others. His case is currently in the court system being handled by Mark Khalil and Chief Assistant Lee Hutton. This horrific event is also the subject of a few of the awards today, and most of you in this room played a part in some capacity in the ensuing manhunt and shared too the pain of Josh's loss and his family. Your son and your fiance died a hero and a protector. Please, everyone, stand for a moment and bow your heads in a moment of silence in honor of Deputy Josh Moyers. You can be seated. Our Chief Investigator, Tim Quick, flew an American flag over the State Attorney's Office for Josh in his honor and his memory, and we'd like to present it to you all today. Thank you for joining us today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Admiral O'Keefe.
Sadly, 2021 once again reminded us that COVID remains a threat to public health, that there is no such thing as a routine traffic stop, and that the business of law enforcement is inherently dangerous. Many of our local, state, and federal law enforcement partners have added names to their respective memorial walls this year. As we celebrate the outstanding achievements of our law enforcement partners today, I would ask everyone to take one more opportunity to reflect upon the extraordinary service of those officers who offered the ultimate devotion to duty and the tremendous sacrifice of their loved ones left to mourn their passing. Every day they went forward, faced not only with the traditional dangers of their service, but with the unseen threat of the pandemic. They went forward without hesitation. They served with extraordinary devotion. They will be missed, and we will eternally celebrate their lives and their service. Today, we have the honor to celebrate the service of some extraordinary law enforcement officers. Thank you again to every member of the law enforcement community who has joined us today. For the awards presented today are from you. Your agencies nominated the officers, detectives, special agents, operations specialists, language analysts, and intelligence analysts for exemplary service that went above and beyond their normal course of duties. With that, I would like to thank everyone for submitting their nominees. And it's important to note that not every action or incident we will honor today made the local news or the front page for their efforts, which makes this recognition by your peers here today even more significant. With that, let's get to the honorees. First, we have the Life Saving Award. The Life Saving Award recognizes those who perform a life-saving act under extraordinary circumstances. It shall be awarded only upon recommendation of the Chief of Police, Sheriff, or Head of Agency. The following criteria must be met. Took direct, immediate, and positive action to preserve the life of another human being who is in danger of dying. The action taken prevented the loss of human life, and the circumstances of the act were such that any delay in providing assistance would, in all probability, have resulted in the person's death. I would now like to invite Under Sheriff Ron Lenve to the podium to announce our life-saving awardees.
Thank you very much. In September of 2021, Deputies Tolick and Murray were dispatched to a cardiac arrest call in Middleburg, Florida. The caller's mother was non-responsive and not breathing in her recliner. The caller was given CPR instructions over the phone while deputies were en route. When Deputy Tolick arrived, he could not find a pulse. He began CPR while waiting on the arrival of rescue personnel, and Deputy Murray arrived shortly thereafter and took over CPR as Deputy Tolick retrieved his agency-assigned AED from his patrol vehicle. Deputy Tolick initiated the AED and administered a shock. Rescue personnel arrived on scene and found a rekindled pulse and transported the woman to the nearest hospital, which was St. Vincent's. They later attributed the woman's recovery to the deputy's quick thinking and life-saving skills. And I think it's the ultimate compliment for any law enforcement officer. We all get into this line of work to protect life and to save lives. And when you can save one and bring one back like you guys did, that is the ultimate compliment. And we're very proud of you, and we appreciate the recognition that you guys are receiving here today. Thank you. Deputy Tolick and Deputy Murray, if you'd join us up front.
Yes, that was your daddy. You should be very proud. The Civilian Public Safety Award recognizes civilian public safety professionals who have performed their jobs with exceptional skill, expertise, and innovation. Community involvement, both on and off duty, is given strong consideration. I would now like to invite Assistant Chief Ellis Burns to join me at the podium to announce our next awardee.
Good afternoon, everyone. As the Admiral said, this is for the Civilian Public Safety Award. This is for Lindsay Watson. She's a JSO Information Technology Analyst. So will Lindsay come up, please? Lindsay Watson is to be commended for going above and beyond her duties as a project coordinator for Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. In this role, she helped customize solutions and streamline processes for units to accomplish their daily objectives in a more efficient manner. During the 2 years that she served as a project coordinator, Lindsay took the lead on several technical projects that related to the agency's SharePoint sites. These sites are crucial for daily internal operations. Through self-initiated education, she became a SharePoint developer, savvy enough to completely build, modify, and tailor many of the SharePoint solutions that have been implemented for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. This action freed up members of the Information Systems Management section to focus on other critical projects. In fact, at the end of 2021, Lindsay started working in an IT role within the agency, a role that she was sought out for by the IT team after they witnessed firsthand her stellar work and performance. This has helped us tremendously, especially with saving time on things and being more efficient. We're very appreciative of it. Thank you.
The Investigative Excellence Award recognizes investigators or investigative support staff whose actions led to the arrest and successful prosecution of a person or persons which positively impacted public safety by thwarting a criminal enterprise or by exposing a major criminal conspiracy. I would now like to invite FBI Special Agent in Charge Mark Hoffman to come forward and announce our next awardees.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for allowing us to attend. I've been in the FBI for 24 years. When I first started in Flint, Michigan, one of the things that I learned is we cannot do this job on our own. FBI, state, local, and our partnerships with everybody is the only reason why we're successful, and I think that's fairly evident in this next award. Throughout 2021, the FBI Jacksonville Violent Crime Major Offenders Task Force conducted numerous substantial investigations with significant positive community impact on violent crime. Specifically, FBI Jacksonville Special Agent Joshua McLeod and FBI Task Force officers and Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Robbery Unit Detectives Butch Meisner, John T. Vanache, and Joseph Garrett Bennett are recognized for the following investigations. And with that, I would like to call them up as I read these. If you guys want to come forward. So bear with me. We stress community impact at our office, and to go through this, and there are several investigations that they followed through, and I think outlines what they did. Starting in February 2021, subject Brett James Amante committed multiple armed bank robberies and was apprehended at his residence. The investigator seized 2 handguns, 2 rifles, approximately 1,913 rounds of ammunition, body armor, a silencer, a taser, flex cuffs, handcuffs, surveillance equipment, the stolen cash, and a stolen Florida license plate. Starting in March of 2021, subject Dontravius Devon Adair committed armed takeover robberies at the ViStar Credit Union and Rainbow Food Store and stole a rifle from St. Nicholas Guns. Adair was apprehended and the investigators recovered all the stolen cash, 2 pistols, and 1 rifle. In April of 2021, subject Laris Boston committed an armed carjacking and assault in Jacksonville. The stolen vehicle and firearm were recovered in Clay County, and investigators arrested Boston without incident in Jacksonville. Again, in April 2021, subject Donald Wayne Hayden robbed the Wells Fargo Bank in Jacksonville. Investigators arrested Hayden in Madison County, and he was extradited to Duval County. May 2021, subject Damian Tawan Samuels committed an attempted armed robbery at Wells Fargo. The investigators arrested Samuels immediately and recovered the toy gun utilized during the attempt. August of 2021, subject James Mack III committed an armed carjacking and kidnapping and impersonated an FBI agent. Investigators successfully located and recovered the carjacking vehicle and identified, located, and arrested Mack, a convicted felon in violation of his out-of-state probation. The research also recovered the firearm and all the FBI law enforcement equipment utilized by Mack. And then finally, in September 2021, the investigators assisted in the manhunt for Joseph Patrick Renee McDowell following the shooting of Deputy Josh Moyers, who was critically wounded during a traffic stop of McDowell. These investigators have proven their dedication to protecting our community through the above actions, which are limited examples of their extensive, painstaking efforts to uphold the law. They bring great credit upon themselves and their organizations by selflessly serving for the betterment of our community and are worthy of the commendation and recognition of the Investigative Excellence Award. So with that, I'd like to give everybody a hand.
I would now like to invite Assistant Chief Ellis Burns to return to the podium to announce our next Investigative Excellence awardee.
This award is for JSO Sergeant David Griffiths. Dave, you come up here, please. Sergeant Griffiths' investigative skills led to the solving of a cold case investigation. Back in 2015, after an unknown assailant viciously attacked and assaulted a child victim, countless hours were invested in identifying the person of interest, interviewing witnesses, and collecting valuable forensic evidence. However, the case remained unsolved. 5 years later, FDLE landed on new evidence associating forensic evidence collected during the original investigation to a pool of suspects. Sergeant Griffiths, then Detective Griffiths, a detective in the Special Assault Unit, JSO at the time, was specifically selected for this cold case investigation due to his skill and passion for victims of violent crimes. His meticulous investigation included multiple search warrants, the coordinated processing of additional forensic evidence, a myriad of witness interviews, and the collection of vital information to narrow the suspect pool to one. Working with the State Attorney's Office, a warrant for the suspect's arrest was issued, and he was held accountable for this offense. Thank you for a great job.
I would now like to invite Green Cove Springs Police Department Commander Barbara Lutke to join me at the podium for our next Investigative Excellence awardee.
Mr. Carpenter, if you could go ahead and step up, please. Detective Carpenter's investigative excellence was recently displayed during the investigation, arrest, and subsequent conviction of one of the Green Cove Springs primary drug distributors. This particular distributor had been arrested on felony charges approximately 20 times, 15 misdemeanors, and yet have never served any real punitive time for the crimes committed until Detective Carpenter was involved. In late 2020, the Green Cove Springs Police Department made contact with this distributor, whose activities Detective Carpenter had already been tracking. Detective Carpenter responded to the roadside contact and provided additional information to patrol. The patrol officers ultimately arrested the distributor on minor possession charges, while Detective Carpenter continued further investigation behind the scenes. Detective Carpenter obtained a search warrant for the distributor's property based strongly on the intelligence he had collected from multiple sources of information and evidence collected. Ultimately, the distributor was found to have been in possession of multiple street-level drugs, including methamphetamines, Schedule IV controlled substances, and fentanyl. Throughout 2021, Detective Carpenter's relentless and ongoing pursuit of this distributor's sources of supply and criminal associates has directly led to the suspects being identified in the following counties: Clay, Duval, St. Johns, Putnam, Volusia, Hillsborough, and the city of Atlantic, Georgia. This is just one small example of the investigative excellence Detective Carpenter continues to display. We appreciate the state attorney for recognizing him, and I know Chief Asdot would be so proud of you. So thank you.
I would now like to invite FBI Supervisory Intelligence Analyst Gwen Goodrich to come forward and announce our final Investigative Excellence Award recipient.
Good afternoon, and thank you again for having us here and for the opportunity to present this award to this team. As ASAC Hoffman mentioned earlier, the FBI is about teamwork, and we know we can't do it alone, and this case is a great example of the teamwork that it takes to bring a case through full prosecution for a federal case. So I would like to recognize and ask to come forward FBI Language Analyst Lucy Bujnak, United States Attorney Office, Middle District, Florida, Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Kulikin, FBI Special Agent Blake Eber, Supervisory Intelligence Analyst Frank Trey Heinrich, Supervisory Special Agent Mickey Martin, Staff Operations Specialist Lauren Ryan, Language Analyst Fiona Yu, and SAC Tom Canizo, who's accepting on behalf of NCIS Task Force Officer Juan Smain Rivera. I'll be accepting on behalf of Intelligence Analyst Dana Adelot. So this case is actually a counterintelligence case, which means that there's a lot I can't say about it. But it's also one of those things that we don't usually get to recognize in a forum like this, so we're very fortunate that this team was able to put this together. So Fan Yang and his wife Yang Yang, Ge Songtao, and Zheng Yan conspired to deceive domestic defense contractors into selling them commando raiding vessels and high-tech engines used by U.S. Special Forces teams, all to be secretly exported to China, where they were to be reverse engineered and remanufactured for sale to the Chinese military. They also conspired to purchase semi-automatic weapons pistols for Song Tao, who as a non-resident foreign national was prohibited from possessing such firearms. At the time, Fan Yang was also a U.S. naval officer with a top-secret clearance who hid, mischaracterized, and minimized his relationship with Song Tao for years. This investigative and intelligence team collaborated to mount evidence against Yang and his associates. The arduous and detailed work included compiling, translating, reviewing, and analyzing the contents of over 20 electronic devices which were seized when the 4 subjects were arrested. The devices contained millions of digital files, the bulk of which were written in Chinese, thanks to our language analysts here, and required extensive linguist resources. The team also conducted pre-arrest surveillance and interviews, monitored jail calls, coordinated with and prepared over 24 witnesses for trial, and declassified and produced evidence for the prosecution team. And as a result of the dedication and painstaking focus to detail, Yang was convicted on all counts, and all of his co-defendants pleaded guilty. So it's a successful case for us and could not have been done without the work of everyone and all of our partners involved. So thanks again.
The Leadership Award recognizes individuals who have excelled in community-oriented engagement, activities that are collaborative, cooperative, and proactive. This award highlights the importance of maintaining an environment where safety, security, and cooperation are paramount. This award is bestowed upon individuals who demonstrate actions that support or enhance the safety of the community. Through their leadership, awardees established a sustainable program or cultivated and/or enhanced relationships that encourage the collaborations of 2 or more groups to create a quantifiable and positive impact on public safety. I would now like to invite Assistant Chief Ellis Burns to return to the podium to announce our next awardee.
Sergeant Nuria Archibald, come up here, please. Sergeant Archibald is currently assigned to work in the northwest part of Jacksonville, also known as Patrol Zone 5, where I serve as zone commander. I'm thankful to have her. With almost 14 years of service to this community, she has had the opportunity to work in various areas of the JSO, including special events, community affairs, organized crime, and patrol as a supervisor. She's proven herself a dedicated leader and mentor to others. When she is not working, Sergeant Archibald does a great deal of volunteer work with several organizations in our community, including but not limited to Her Song, the DEMP Project, and UF Cares Rainbow Center. About 10 months I was the Integrity Unit Lieutenant. We did a lot of human trafficking work with the state, FDLE, the FBI. There's a lot of former partners in here. She was always the go-to person when she was a vice sergeant because she did a great job. She was very caring about what she did, and on her days off, she was helping to get a lot of our trafficking victims long-term help, and she was very instrumental in that. So very thankful for what you've done. Appreciate it. Thank you, Archie.
Don't go too far.
Yes, sir.
The Citizen Volunteer Partnership Award recognizes citizens who have provided valuable or courageous assistance to members of law enforcement or to first responders in an emergency situation. This award may be designated to a citizen whose assistance to public safety officials was given without regard to personal welfare and had a positive bearing on the outcome of an incident, while contributing to the furtherance of the law enforcement or public safety in the community. Chief, back over to you.
Thank you. So would Debbie Johnson come up, please, founder of Canines United. Debbie Johnson is the founder and president of the nonprofit Canines United. This organization is committed to supporting and honoring canine law enforcement officers who detect, protect, and serve our communities by giving them the best equipment, amenities, and quality of life during and after their service, and memorializing those who have given ultimate sacrifice. Throughout the years, Ms. Johnson has worked with elected officials for legislative changes relating to law enforcement service animals. Additionally, our organization has supported the efforts of not only the JSO Canine Unit, but other agencies in the region, for which we're all very appreciative. This support not only includes assisting with equipment costs, but also hosting free training classes for handlers. I've heard many success stories about things that you've started and ways that you've helped multiple agencies, and we're all very appreciative and thankful for what you do for us.
The Canine Valor Award recognizes the bravery and sacrifices canine units demonstrate in the apprehension of violent criminals, all while protecting their handlers, law enforcement teams, and the community. This award is to be presented to the canine team that has performed with extraordinary bravery under difficult circumstances and for exceptional ability by law enforcement utilizing a police service dog. It also is designed to recognize a canine that has been seriously injured, maimed, or killed in the line of duty. Chief Burns.
Thank you, Admiral. So Officer Dale Cullen and Chaos, please come up here. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Police Service Dog Chaos, as you can see, is a dual-purpose dog that holds certification in both patrol and explosives detection. He's worked alongside his handler, Officer Dale Cullen, second-generation JSO, for more than 3 years. In September 2021, Nassau County Sheriff's Office Deputy Joshua Moore was shot and killed in the line of duty. The suspect fled to avoid capture. In a mutual aid effort, members of Jacksonville Sheriff's Office were called to assist with the search of the suspect. During the search, Chaos was shot by the suspect and was rushed to the emergency vet clinic for treatment. The valiant act by Chaos and Officer Dale Cullen in pursuit of the suspect saved the lives of law enforcement officers that day. Thank you for all you've done.
The Meritorious Service Award recognizes those who performed an act of distinct gallantry or achievement. It shall be awarded only upon recommendation of the Chief of Police, Sheriff, or Head of Agency. The following criteria must be met. The act must be of such distinction as to have brought great credit to the individual and to the sponsoring agency. I would now like to invite FDLE Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Keisha Noss, to the podium to announce our next awardee.
Good afternoon. If I may invite Crime Laboratory Analyst Amanda Stratton up to the front, please. Okay. Crime Laboratory Analyst Amanda Stratton was instrumental in the murder investigation, prosecution, and conviction of Kimberly Kessler. On Mother's Day 2018, Jolene Cummings disappeared from Nassau County, Florida. The subsequent investigation identified Kessler as her killer. Over 60 items of evidence were submitted to the FDLE biology lab. CLA Stratton tested each individual item of evidence. She painstakingly disassembled the suspect's hairstyling scissors, allowing her to locate and match the victim's blood, and found the victim's blood on the suspect's socks as well. Stratton examined a storage tote and observed various pieces of debris. This attention to detail, combined with her extensive training and experience, helped her identify a partial bloody fingernail, which also matched the victim. Stratton participated in depositions, pretrial preparation, and over 2 hours of testimony at trial. She was an excellent state witness, distilling difficult forensic concepts and analyses so that the jury could understand the DNA. Stratton's expertise and testimony were invaluable in securing a murder conviction against Kessler for the murder of Jolene Cummings. So if we can recognize Crime Laboratory Analyst Amanda Stratton.
All right, Keish, don't go anywhere. The Bravery Award recognizes those who perform extraordinary acts of bravery. It shall be awarded only upon recommendation of the Chief of Police, Sheriff, or Head of Agency. The following criteria must be met. Acted voluntarily and without regard for personal risk. The act occurred at a moment of clear and obvious danger, and the act was clearly above and beyond the call or risk of ordinary duty. ASAC Noss, back over to you.
For this award, if I may call Special Agent David Brock to the front. In May of 2021, Special Agent David Brock, while assigned to the U.S. Marshals Regional Fugitive Task Force, was participating in a fugitive investigation regarding wanted sex offender Arnold Frazier Hager. Hager was wanted for 8 counts of sexual battery on a child in Maryland. Brock and his team tracked Hager to a residence where they used a PA system in an attempt to have Hager surrender himself. Hager fired multiple shots from inside the residence before exiting, holding a semi-automatic handgun. Special Agent Brock stood his ground directly in harm's way and engaged Hager in a gunfight, ultimately ending the threat. 3 other officers with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office also engaged in this gunfight. Special Agent David Brock put aside his own personal safety to stop a violent felon from potentially killing him and other members of his task force. And if I may, if we could give Special Agent David Brock a round of applause.
I'd like to note that the Bravery Award sat in absolutely the back seat in the back row, so well done. The Medal of Honor, the Medal of Valor is the highest award that can be bestowed. It is granted for conspicuous heroism under circumstances of extreme personal danger. It shall be awarded only by recommendation of the Chief of Police, Sheriff, or Head of Agency. The following criteria must be met. Acted in the face of extreme personal danger without hesitation or regard for his or her own life or well-being, took such action willingly and with full knowledge of the grave risks involved, and acted so clearly above and beyond the call or risk of ordinary duty, and so conspicuous an example of personal courage that any lesser award would be considered inadequate or inappropriate. I would now like to invite Assistant Chief Ellis Burns to return one final time to the podium to announce our awardee.
Thank you, sir. JSO Officer Marshall Bowles, come up front, please. Officer Marshall Bowles was dispatched to a report of a woman calling for help from a residence. As seen in the body-worn camera video, when Officer Bowles arrived on scene, he saw a female cowering behind a parked vehicle and a male charging toward her. The male suspect then raised a firearm, pointed at the female, and pulled the trigger. Thank God the firearm failed to fire, but the suspect continued to pull the trigger, which created a series of audible clicking sounds. And this is not a movie, this is real life. Officer Bowles unholstered his firearm and gave loud verbal commands to the suspect to drop the weapon. Throughout this fast-paced situation, Officer Bowles could not safely engage the suspect with his firearm because of how close the suspect was to the victim and because of the homes immediately behind the moving suspect. When the victim saw Officer Bowles, she ran towards him, followed closely by the suspect, who still at this time had the firearm raised. As the victim was running, she fell, and the suspect fell on top of her. Officer Bowles engaged the suspect, disarmed him, and secured the suspect in handcuffs. This is amazing work. I'm proud of you.
And I would now like to invite State Attorney Nelson to return to the podium to announce our final awardee.
Admiral O'Keefe mentioned, and I just want to reiterate, at the end of the ceremony, there'll be a reception on the third floor, but those of you who have won awards, we'd like you to stay so we can take some photographs. This is the State Attorney Award. For all of you who have won awards today, this committee worked a couple years ago to come up with the criteria for each of the awards. Our team solicited nominations, and you were chosen and selected as a standalone from other nominations that came in. But these two people being recognized today are actually an award that I'm bestowing on both of them. Can we start the sheriff's? I'm sorry. Abby and Jimmy, will you please join me? That's important. Go ahead and start.
Hello, my name is Mark Hunter, Sheriff of Columbia County. We're here today to recognize an individual who has really done a stellar job in law enforcement. Sergeant Jimmy Watson, who worked with the Columbia County Sheriff's Office, was able to, along with the assistance of many folks, able to bring to closure a case that has been going on since 1994. Back in 94, the Columbia County Sheriff's Office responded to what we call the torso case. There was a torso located at a gas station north of town up on 441, US 441. At that time, detectives and members of the Sheriff's Office collected as much evidence as they possibly could and ran all of the leads down that they possibly could with no success. The case went cold. After a number of years, some of those individuals who had been with the Sheriff's Office retired. And Detective Calvin Fenner was one of the initial responders, and he retired. Then that's when Jimmy picked up on the case. Through technology advancements and through working with a lot of other agencies, too many for me to name, which I believe y'all probably will do that over there. But they were able to bring this case to closure and a successful guilty verdict on an individual. I know from being here at the Sheriff's Office since 2009, the work that has gone into this case. I know that Special Agent Abby Bacaro, I know I'm going to butcher her name up, but she worked with us very close over here, and through that, they were able to get a suspect developed. The DNA testing that went on, it just seemed like it took forever. But at the end of the day, they were successful. And I just want to congratulate Sergeant Watson and just thank him. I know that the family now has closure, and it's just a really good feeling to have that quality of individual working with us and in law enforcement. Thank you, Sergeant Watson.
Jimmy, will you join me to my left?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on Sheriff Hunter's remarks. In 1994, a Lake City resident came upon a torso lying near a dumpster in Columbia County, Florida. No head, no hands, no legs, and no way to identify the body. The Columbia County Sheriff's Office was inundated with calls from all over the country about potential leads, and none of those leads panned out. Unbeknownst to the Columbia County Sheriff's Office just 50 miles away here in Jacksonville, Daisy Laster was trying to ascertain her 16-year-old twin brother's whereabouts. She could not find him, and it seemed to his siblings as if he'd just vanished into thin air. Detective after detective reviewed the case file, each one traveling down new roads and considering both new and old theories. In 2013, then Detective, now Sergeant Jimmy Watson, asked if he could take a crack at investigating the case. Detective Watson had the good thought, though he figured a long shot, to post information about the case to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children's website, an internet platform that had not been available to law enforcement 20 years earlier. In her continued quest to find her brother, Daisy Laster visited that NCMEC website, and in late 2015, she saw a new posting that caught her attention. The date, June 1994, the location, Lake City, the gender and supposed age range of 16 to 19 years old, and a photograph of bathtub appliques that looked like flowers and had been recovered from many evidentiary items in the dumpster all stuck out to her. Could this be her brother? She reached out to the Columbia County Sheriff's Office. This posting and Daisy's call were the first steps to finally identify the body known only until that time as John Doe. At that time, Columbia County Sheriff's Office was engaged on a task force with the FBI, and Detective Watson was working on that task force with FBI agent Abby Bagaccio. Abby began helping Jimmy with the investigation. They had developed a professional relationship on this task force. Jimmy was looking to her, bouncing ideas off. They began the process of collecting DNA from Daisy and her other siblings to determine whether they were in fact related to John Doe. Ultimately, they determined John Doe was indeed Fred Laster, a 16-year-old boy who went missing in 1994, had been murdered, and was Daisy's twin brother. Once identified, the investigation obviously turned on figuring out who had murdered Fred and dismembered him. Abby and Jimmy learned that Fred had last been seen with his pastor, Ronnie Hyde. This information was a very important step in the investigation, for among the evidence that had sat for years was a shirt that had also been collected from that dumpster. That shirt, covered in Fred's blood, also bore evidence of another man who had worn that shirt. It is this DNA evidence that would later be identified as in fact belonging to Ronnie Hyde. And Abby and Jimmy's work did not end there. They collected evidence integral to a foolproof search warrant to search Hyde's home. And I'll say that it is one of the most comprehensive state search warrants I have ever seen. They were meticulous in the planning of and actual processing of Ronnie Hyde's home. It took countless hours, scores of agents and detectives, multiple tractor trailers. And I will say it was one of the grossest scenes I've seen. They conducted an excellent interview of the defendant that locked him down to a ridiculous story. And then they spent months painstakingly going through the decades' worth of evidence collected from Hyde's home, organizing the case for indictment and prosecution, navigating the web of analyses and testing that needed to be conducted. And from this work, they were able to determine that the evidence had indicated that Hyde had murdered and dismembered Fred in his Jacksonville Beach home here in Duval County, and then traveled to Columbia County to dispose of his body. As you heard, they testified in deposition motion hearings and ultimately a very recent trial. This case was finally tried by Judge Salvador this past month, and a jury swiftly returned a verdict. For any of you who have ever had the opportunity to work on a career case, as this was, we joke about who's going to play Abby in the movie. You know well the overwhelming feeling of fulfillment when justice is finally rendered. When the verdict of guilty was announced, unfortunately, because the jury came back so quickly, Abby was stuck returning a rental car. Detective Watson cried. I hope you don't mind me announcing this. During the week-long trial, all 6 of Fred's siblings were in attendance every minute, and today his sisters Dawn and Daisy and his brother Richard are here to see Abby and Jimmy recognized for solving their brother's mysterious disappearance and murder, and for finally, after almost 30 years, bringing their family answers to years-old questions. Will you please stand? They shared with us, "We are unbelievably grateful for the years of hard work and dedication to our brother's case. We finally have justice for Freddie." Thank you. We often talk about, you've heard today, the partnerships, the importance of partnerships in law enforcement, and this partnership between a small department in a rural county and the big bad bureau, as well as Jacksonville Beach Police Department and FDLE and NCMEC, is truly a testament to what can be accomplished through collective work of many when no one is worried about who gets or takes the credit. And I saw that over and again between the two of you. Mac Hevner, the original Assistant State Attorney handling this case, and trial attorneys Alan Mizrahi and Terrence Martin all convey their congratulations to you both. So Abby and Jimmy, it is my distinct honor and privilege to award you both Attorney Olio this year. You can, yeah, I know, you're more than welcome. Thank you. And members of the State Attorney's Office to come awards. Thank them. Thank you for bringing chaos that came to watch this today. Thank you. A police officer joke this morning. I have a good one. And I told my husband this morning, but it may have been a police officer on the side of the road. And he saw an hour in a 65-mile limit. So he pulled the car over and rolled the window down, and she said, "Sir, this is as dangerous as speeding. Miss, and it's 65 miles. I just saw a sign that was 15 miles an hour. You're driving on Route 15. I'll do better about looking at the signs." Little old ladies, her friend, they looked like they were going to throw up, and he said, "They'll be fine. We just got off Route 200. Thank you so much for joining and enjoy refreshments, and those adjourned. Use the space. We'd like to use it every.
I won't be doing that. So I
Okay.
go at the end of next. I'm sure